Mic check 1 2, mic check 1 2. Welcome back to the Random Show, episode number 60. Pardon me for the 5 minutes of tardiness. I hope you are well wherever you mans are. Wherever you mans are, and you ladies, big up the chat and all that malarkey. Episode number 60 of the Random Show, 60, coming at you live and direct. Hope you are good wherever this show may find you. I hope you guys are doing absolutely great. How am I? Pretty decent, all things considered. You know the vibes. You know the effing vibes. We're back with the Random Show. Same thing as always. You know what the deal is. We go through random topics. We talk about some comedy stuff. We laugh, we giggle, we hee, we caca. Well, we don't caca. If you want to, please do that in your own bathrooms. Don't do this on the stream, please. I will try to not do it on the stream, even though I've got this massive jug of iced coffee. I'm probably going to want to caca very, very soon. But regardless, we're going to hee, caca on here. And we're going to make sure we keep all of our stuff on here. I always say the disclaimer, but I just want to make sure that all our jokes, all our ha-has get left on here. They don't go on people's pages. Don't go and troll them and stuff and try and get blocked, because I hate all that stuff. I think that's like super lame. Keep all the jokes on here. We laugh, we smile, and then we go to bed. Oh, look how big my arms look in this fucking... Oh, look at that. Sober October's working, eh? Look at that. Look how big I look. Oh. But anyway, I'm joking. It's probably just a t-shirt. Looks a bit tight, and black's always slimming anyway. Black always makes you look like a security guard. Do you know what I mean? No ID, no entry. That's definitely not a security guard outside Crystalia show, is it? But anyway, let's oh, Teju, good question, brother. Good question. Why am I obsessed with DSP, also known as DARKSYDEPHIL? Oh yeah, big up Uche, big up Koila. Why am I obsessed with DARKSYDEPHIL? I'm obsessed with DARKSYDE. You know what? Let me say this categorically. I'm obsessed with DARKSYDEPHIL and flipping Brendan Schaub in the same way, because I'm obsessed with people who have got by in life being incredibly unlikable. Because for the most part, I'm not sure about you guys, but maybe it's because maybe it's a black thing. I don't know if it's a black thing. Maybe it's a kind of a black thing also, because when I was growing up, my parents always told me that it was never good. I couldn't just be good enough. I had to be better than everybody, because I had a disadvantage of looking the way that I look. People would maybe think, you know, I'm intimidating. They maybe think I'd speak a certain way. They maybe think I'd have a certain attitude, whatever it may be. I had to kind of counteract all these prejudices before walking into a room. So I kind of learned how to be a people pleaser, which is a weird thing, isn't it? To be a people pleaser, to kind of want everyone to like you in a room. But I kind of had that tendency sometimes. I can sometimes be a little bit of a licky ass. I've got that bit in me to kind of, you know, go out of my way to make people like me and stuff. Even though I don't really have many friends, or don't really hang out with people, when I am in social settings which I don't really familiar with, I can be a little bit big for the room and kind of go over the top and be really laughy and jokey so that people can like me. So it's a weird little thing I have. So because I've grown up like that, being a people pleaser, it really intrigues me when I see people who don't make any effort to be liked, like zero. They don't give a crap. Like they actually double down on the unlikable bits about them, or they're very oblivious to it. So in the case of Brendan Schaub and DARKSYDEPHIL, they both have that element about them. Like they're very unlikable in their own ways, but they don't seem to care about addressing it or correcting it so more people can like them. They just think the people that don't like them don't get it. Like that's what, you know, DSP refers to them as detractors. Brendan Schaub refers to them as trolls, but there's no element in their head. There's no like reflection to think, hold on, why are all these people hating me? Why do I have nearly 100,000, you know, homeless cats on the subreddit kind of, you know, picking apart every little thing that I do? Maybe there's something wrong with me. DSP, the same thing. Why do I have people, you know, going to the extent of like doing like what's that thing called, social engineering and stuff, and stealing my ID to kind of get my bank details so they can find out if I actually spend the money, the things that I actually spend the money on? Like, why do people hate me to that extent? And they don't get it. So for me, it fascinates me how people can go through life doing the opposite of what I've done when I grew up. I grew up trying to lick people's asses and make them all my friends and be a people pleaser, while these people are going out there and it's just doubling down on the things that people hate about them, and they're making no effort to change. That's why I'm obsessed with DARKSYDEPHIL. And also it's fucking amazing to watch a fully grown man, like who in his 40s, legitimately beg and plead for tips so that he can pay his rent. Do you know what I mean? And pay for his TV, like just a recent stream of DARKSYDEPHIL. His TV broke, and he was just whining and complaining about his TV breaking, and some random whale just dropped $400, just donated it. Here's $400 to buy a TV, which is pretty sick, isn't it? Imagine somebody donates $400. It's pretty sick, but also I don't know, maybe I'm in a minority here, but you'd feel kind of gross. Nothing that I do here is worth $400. Let me just tell you that now. My setup's probably not $400, right? It's all fucking dead. The most expensive thing I have here, equipment-wise, is this Focusrite audio interface I bought brand new. Yeah, everything else is just like second-hand and shit. So that whole thing is mad. So I'd be a bit awkward and a bit weirded out if somebody donated to me $400. But they do. They're giving $400 to buy a new TV. Then he sits there on stream, attempting to buy the TV in real time. And instead of just buying a TV for $400 on stream, so like as a thank you, like, oh my God, man, thank you for donating that $400. It means a lot. Here's this TV I'm going to buy. I'm ordering it now. Or using the $400 as a part of a payment so you can add your other money on top to buy another one. He instead goes online and basically convinces himself to buy a more expensive TV. It was a Sony one, some Sony Brava TV that he said was the best one. I don't know why. He buys this £900 TV, and then when he goes to check out, he realizes that Amazon offers some sort of credit system. I didn't know this was a thing, but Amazon's got some sort of like credit system where you can buy a TV, or I guess high purchase price items in installments, so you can pay like 5 installments. So he sees that and says, oh my God, his eyes light up. I can pay it in like 5 installments of $160 or whatever. I don't know, whatever the price is. And he decides to get it on there. But the thing with DSP is that if you know his history and his law, the whole reason why he's in this financial sort of like circle where he keeps overspending money and doing things on WWE and all this sort of nonsense, because when he was growing up and stuff, he took out 1 million credit cards to help him pay to go to fucking Street Fighter tournaments and shit. So he's kind of put himself in a bit of a financial spin because of the credit cards. So you'd think somebody who's kind of struggling to pay their bills and needs fans to donate $400, you'd think they wouldn't go and get credit, right, for a fucking TV, especially one that he's only using to fucking play computer games on. He probably need it. He probably can just use a pretty decent computer monitor that'll probably do the same thing. But in his head, it has to be a Sony Brava thing. Like, it's just this nonsense thing he wears up in his head, and he gets it done. So instead of he takes that person's $400, doesn't spend the $400 on the TV, spends $150 of it, or like, you know, whatever out of it to pay the first installment, pockets the rest, and most likely that bill that's going to be occurring for 5 months is going to be a bill that his fans will have to pay. He'll mention it in the stream, hey guys, don't forget to flipping, you know, do this. Like, I just honestly, for me, that fascinates me. I'm sorry, but I'm fascinated by people who can do that with no shame, who have no dignity, who have no pride, no sense of ego, nothing, to kind of earn your own way. Like, nah, I just want people to give me money so that I can flipping pay my bills and keep the lights on and whatnot and feed my quote unquote family, which is a wife and a cat, which isn't a family, by the way. But yeah, he's fascinating to me. So is Brendan. So that's the question answered in a long-winded way, but at least you got it. At least you got it. Anyways, big up the chat in general. Thank you so much for you guys for tuning in. As per usual, random show, we talk about random things. If you can do me a massive favor, and please make sure that you're smashing the like button along the way if you're enjoying the show. Some of these shows I've been doing lately have been getting absolutely terrible likes. Even a dislike, do the dislike. I don't give a fuck. If it's a dislike you want to put on, do a dislike too. But interact. Do some sort of interaction so that this stream can be fed through to the algorithm and it can go where it needs to go, because I think my channel might have been flagged for something. Because I think one stream when I was playing one of those fights in Walmart, my video got like it got like an age restriction warning on it, and I'm not too sure if YouTube, once you get an age restriction on a video, if they have to put it after the fact. I'm not sure if that kind of puts like a bad mark on all your videos. I'm not too sure. I don't think it is, because I remember Nelk Boys used to do mad crazy videos, and I used to always get them recommended to me in the algorithm. I think if your video is popular, it can just beat the algorithm anyway. But in case it doesn't beat the algorithm, please make sure you're liking the stream along the way. Even dislike it if you need. And if you obviously like what you hear to the extent that you want to subscribe, that'd be greatly appreciated. But you know, we're gonna keep motoring on. Small update to give as well, I wanted to quickly mention as well, is it's the last full week of fucking Sober October, man. I can't bloody wait. I can't wait. I cannot wait. Last week of Sober October. Are you crazy? God almighty. Oh, we got a super chat. We got a super chat. We got a super chat. Let's see if it pop through. Come on, man. Why is the voice thing take so long to pop through? Is there a delay? Maybe it's a delay. Let's see. Why is the super chat not popping through? Can you pop through, please? Can you pop through? Shades Cow. No, I'm not married, my friend. No. Not married. Not married in the slightest. Not happening anytime soon either. There we go. Sound?
Why is Callen much better than Schaub at predicting fights?
Big up that Indian dude for the $5 super chat. I appreciate you. Why is Callen so much better at predicting fights? Because he actually watches the fights. He actually watches the cards. He watches the prelims. He might watch a couple of highlights here and there to get himself familiar with it. Brendan does none of that. He just goes off of what he remembers in his head. He doesn't sit down and watch fights. And if he does, he's always on his phone. He does no research, no tape, nothing. He doesn't watch tape, zero. So if you come into UFC and you're you're a bit of a novice, but you go back and, you know, let's say someone's fighting this weekend and you want to figure out if they're going to win or not, all you need to do is just watch 2 or 3 of their previous fights in full. They're not that long. They're like half an hour in total, maybe I think if it's 3 rounds. And just you can get an idea of whether that person's going to win or not. You're like, okay, this guy's better at grappling. He's not good at striking. This person's takedown defense is a bit weird. This person has a tendency to dip their shoulder that way when they're throwing that punch. It's not that hard to put together a concise opinion or prediction of a fight. And also, fight predictions aren't an exact science. But the way you talk about a prediction can say a lot about how you think about fighting, and can obviously show you're doing some research. It doesn't need to be right. It could it can be completely wrong. But the fact that you did a bit of research, it will kind of make people think, okay, fair enough. Even though he was way off the mark, I see where it's coming from. Brendan just shoots off the hip from what he can remember from bits and pieces he saw on Instagram, but he doesn't do any research or anything, which is a real shame, I think, because he's a former UFC fighter. So I think in general, it's a really missed opportunity, which is why I think as much as I was laughing at the whole Showtime firing thing and they kind of picked, you know, Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell over him, it's pretty sad as well, because he's a former UFC fighter. He's still, you know, he made it in UFC around the time when it was still, I'd say, on its ascendancy, but it was still, I think, something that people kind of latched onto in social media, even though he didn't probably enjoy the social media as much as he probably would have now. He should be a much bigger personality or star within the UFC mixed martial arts than he is at the moment. But because of his personality, because of his lack of research, because he doesn't really have any real opinions, he's a bit crap. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing in general. I think about it. So that's why when it comes to Schaub and that kind of stuff, I think he just doesn't do enough research personally. I don't know why he doesn't do it, because I think you should be enjoying the sport you used to play, the sport you used to be a professional in. But maybe also he just might be a bit bored by it and he just kind of clocks in and clocks out because it's easy money. He might actually legitimately hate UFC and hate MMA in general because he doesn't train it anymore. He doesn't do jiu-jitsu anymore. He barely works out, so maybe that's the reason why. I'm not too sure, but it is what it is. What else people are saying here? Yeah, Uche, I think my channel might have got flagged. I'm not too sure. I'm not gonna do that conspiracy theory and think, oh, I've been what you call it, I've been shadow banned. I don't think I've been shadow banned, but I just think ever since that last stream I did where I was watching that video with those girls fighting in Walmart and I called it fucking black excellence and stuff, and I was trolling, every video I upload now, no matter the subject, it gets automatic fucking yellow fucking $sign, which obviously means the monetization is limited because it's been flagged and you have to appeal it and they do a manual review. So you have to kind of go through that process of like unlisting it, not making it public, they do a manual review and then make it public, blah, 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 blah. But every video I upload, doesn't matter if I'm talking about a nightclub, if I'm talking about some random thing about Twitter, it always gets a yellow $sign. So I think my channel might have got flagged in the background. It shouldn't matter really, because I think other channels can get through it, but it's just a thing to kind of keep in mind for myself. So just because of that, make sure you click the like if you can, and if you're enjoying the show, that'll be greatly appreciated. But anyway, move on. Let's jump on into the show. First things first, get well soon to fucking SNL star Chris Redd, man. Like, what an absolute crazy story that I kind of stumbled upon, man. Look at this. He's attacked by a maniac in NYC, rushed to hospital. Crazy, right? I wonder if these comedians are going to come out of hip-hop artists and say comedy is the most dangerous job in the world or whatever, but still, thoughts and feelings with this guy, bruv. So it says as follows: SNL alumni Chris Redd was in no laughing mood at NYC on Wednesday night. The comedian got slugged in the face by a random dude and was rushed to hospital, but thankfully he's going to be okay. Law enforcement sources tell TMZ Chris drove up to the Comedy Cellar in Greenwich Village around 9:40 p.m. and got out of a vehicle when all hell broke loose. We're told a man apparently wearing a security guard uniform ran up to Chris and clocked him in the face, blooding his nose. Cops were on patrol in the area and quickly responded to the scene, but the assailant had already run off. Police don't know the motive of the alleged assault. So he got punched in the face and the guy ran away, like hit and run. That's absolutely crazy. People gathered around to assist Chris, as you can see in the video obtained by TMZ. Blood was on the sidewalk and several steps leading to the Comedy Cellar. Chris was scheduled to perform there on that Wednesday night. He was taken to Bellevue Hospital in Manhattan, where he was treated for and to be released. You know, the funny thing is, somebody is saying that he might have got clocked by one of Keenan and Kel's friends, because that's been the drama I've seen, right? I think Keenan's ex-wife is now dating him or something, which is really odd, right? Because I think Keenan was with the ex-wife while he was filming SNL, and they divorced quite recently. So was your friend always having eyes for your wife when you were with her, or what? Do you know what I mean? That's really strange. And I'm not really someone who flipping cares about that kind of stuff in general. If it was me, if it's an ex, it's an ex. But that's a bit weird, isn't it? A bit creepy, I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, Chris Red just getting smacked in the face outside, man. But it also reminds me of that bit that Tim Dillon does about New York coming back, right? The fact that New York is now dangerous again. It's now sketchy again. Things are going on in the streets that didn't happen prior. It's now turned into fucking Gotham, right? Real life Gotham. An update here says witnesses tell TMZ that Chris Greg Uyuna chain was snatched off. It's a chain where all the links come apart, so it fell apart in the street when the culprit snatched it. The suspect ran away and the chain was recovered by Chris. Witnesses also took photos of Chris's injuries, which included a deep cut on his nose. Fucking hell, he got absolutely smacked, innit? Absolutely smacked. But yeah, I guess it is what it is, isn't it? I guess that's what happens when you try and hook up with your ex-colleague's fucking ex-wife and stuff. It's a bit dodgy, but I guess it's a Hollywood entertainment type industry type shit, innit? So maybe it's not that big of a deal, but god damn it, man. Hopefully it gets well soon. And I also find it's just interesting how this never seems to happen to like the comedians that we talk about. It always seems to happen to like the general public kind of normie ones, right? Who are pretty milk toast and generic in their comedy. They don't really upset nobody. They're just kind of minding their business, clocking in, clocking out of fucking horrendous SNL, but they get clocked in the face. But the other guys we speak about, who I won't mention their names, no one touches them. Do you know what I mean? No one wants to clock them in the face. They just, they just keep it moving. They keep on grifting alive. But yeah, get well soon, Chris Red. Hopefully you are okay, all jokes aside, and hopefully that assailant, the fucking guy that comes, the drive-by broken nose and stuff, people come and gets arrested soon. Hopefully that guy gets arrested soon. Moving on from that one. Oh, let's move into this one. This is pretty good. So have you guys seen this? This is an episode of Buttery Bros, who a lot of people I've seen in the comments are saying some good things about. I think people actually like Buttery Bros. They like the videos that they do. They're essentially these two guys who do like fitness challenge type videos. It's mostly centered around CrossFit for the most part, and I like it, right? I like it. And they somehow have a relationship with Brendan, which I don't understand, because they seem to be pretty chill kind of comedy YouTuber fitness type dudes, right? Not the kind of clout chasey ones, but just people that actually legitimately work out and also create cool content. So I don't know what the association with Schaub does, because he's not really somebody you would associate with working out hard in the way that those guys do, like doing box jumps and overhead presses and wall balls and stuff, because I used to do CrossFit, so I know all these flipping terms. Ding ding. But you wouldn't associate Brendan with CrossFit people, but for some reason he is there. So this is a show that they did together. We're going to watch a bit of it and see some bits, because it's quite startling how unathletic and unfit Brendan is, despite what he looks like. But it makes a lot of sense though, considering, you know, how he's essentially developed an alcohol problem in the last 4 years or something. You know, the copious amounts of nicotine and you know, coffee and all that other sort of nonsense, and the late nights, and obviously not sleeping that well due to his eyes looking all crappy and shit. So it's just funny to see, anyway, somebody that's an ex-professional athlete look so horrendous in the gym. Because usually you'd imagine if you're an ex-professional athlete, it doesn't matter what you look like. If somebody gives a ball to a former professional athlete who's really fat, you can still tell they're like, you know, you know, they used to be professional baller. They got good control, they got good posture, they can, you know, whatever, their spatial awareness is great. It shouldn't take long to you to realize it. But if you watch this, you wouldn't realize this guy was a former professional athlete. You would just think he's just a big dude. But yeah, let's watch the video anyway, regardless. This is Buttery Bros, and it's called $1 per rep in Fight Gone Bad.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Today we are going to be going through the workout named Fight Gone Bad, which was created to emulate what it feels like to go through a UFC fight.
And on the show today, we've got the sauce boss himself, Julian Marquez. He's going to be going against Mark Harley, and then the big man himself, Brendan Schaub, former UFC fighter.
Who does that? Who introduces themselves with their quads, and their quads are so slim like that? They should be a lot bigger, innit? Fires wise. No, don't you think? They should be a lot bigger than that, really, if you played football and you were a professional athlete. But, you know, what do I know?
Salt Lake? Nope, it's my quad.
That's a teardrop right there.
I'm going to be judging Brendan, and to motivate him, I'm going to be counting with dollar bills. For every rep that he does, I'm going to put $1 into this and give it to him at the end of the show.
Oh, wow.
So that's your motivation today.
We're going to hit up trails after this.
Here we go.
You say money?
3, 2, 1, go!
Three up. 3, try and go a little deeper on that, yep.
Deeper.
Yeah, there you go, that's it, yeah, there you go. That's it.
Yo, this is buffering horrendously. Let me turn down the settings. Maybe my computer's overfrying. It can't handle 720p. But this is moving. I know they're moving slow, but this is moving horrendous. Let me see if I can change this. Come on, cog. What's happening here? Oh my days. Come on, brother. Don't die on me now. Don't die on me now. Alright, cool, it's not dead. Good, let's go. Come on, cog. There you go. Why is the cog not showing? So I can change my fucking settings. Come on. Because this is moving like an absolute snail. I need to bring it down to like 480p at least, so we can watch this smooth. Come on, son. Where are you? Where's the cog? Why is it not showing? Oh, they changed YouTube and it looks really strange. Everything's moved around in different places. There we go. Finally, we got it. Come on, son. There we go. Let's put this down to at least 480 because 720 is fucking stressing my absolute crazy little MacBook here. So let's see what the vibe is saying there. Let's get rid of this chat. We don't need this. Uh-oh. Okay, hi chat replay. Yep, you don't need to see that. Let's go.
These guys have never fought before. Look how crazy
This
they're
guy's all jokes on round 1, yep.
Yeah, round 3 is gonna be dicey. But dude, round 1, you're just feeling the guy out. We have a game plan.
All right, we're gonna keep filming this, but for right now, we'll roll
Drop
the
that
footage.
cash. I'm the thickest stripper in Salt Lake.
Okay, let's skip this. Come on, brother. You can't be giving me long intros, man. Just go straight into the stuff. Yeah, okay, cool. There we go. Back into it.
Hands up.
Yeah, there you go. If you ever want to step into the octagon, you need to be prepared to crush your opponent for 5 minutes on, 1 minute of rest.
This is a classic CrossFit workout too, right? Fight Gone Bad. It's meant to fucking illustrate or reflect an actual fight, in terms of the cardiovascular output needed, to obviously to fight and shit. Pretty solid workout, but you'd imagine for an ex-professional athlete, you should be able to absolutely kill this.
And at least 3 rounds.
That's what CrossFit had in mind when they designed this workout for BJ Penn back in the day. After completing this workout, he described it as a fight gone bad.
This then became a benchmark workout for the CrossFit community that many people repeated to test their level of fitness. And then it took another iteration of becoming the workout that the community latched onto as a fundraising event. Millions have been donated to various charities as a result. Well, we're hoping at the end of this, Brendan might donate his cap. Tell me what a fight is like.
Fights in general, unless your main event, are 3 5-minute rounds. If your main event, it's 5 5-minute rounds, which is too long to do anything.
Yep. Use your hips. Use your hips to send that up. There you
go. You know what's funny? That's really looked down upon in CrossFit boxes I've been to, especially the ones here in London. They're very up their own ass. But the slamming of weights is something they do not like in the slightest, slamming of weights. And it's funny because I tend to do that a lot in my local gym that I go to now, because I used to go to a CrossFit box a lot, but then I got put off the classes. I hate doing things in classes. I hate all the rah-rah motivational talk stuff. It's really cringe. It's just a workout. It's not that serious. They're trying to make it seem like you're in the fucking Navy SEALs. It's not that real. So I kind of stopped going to the classes because of that. But now I go to like a regular gym and still do CrossFit workouts and shit. And sometimes when I go in there, I'll be like, you know, making my noises like and fucking dropping weights and stuff and not giving a fuck. But it kind of reminds me of like how it was in boxes where they'd kind of tell you off for dropping weights. But as someone says in the thing, because College said he didn't drop it, he actually just threw it, which you're not meant to do. Because usually I think that there's a common thing around people with deadlifts in it. I think they say when you're doing deadlifts, the actual, because I forgot what it is. I think with deadlifts, I think especially when you get to the last rep, you should really release it from the top. You shouldn't release it from the bottom. You shouldn't go back down again because you're already done the last rep. You know, that kind of down motion. I think I don't know. I read somewhere about that. So a lot of people don't go back down again. They'll just release it from the top or bring it down slowly. But I don't release it like just like slamming it. You're kind of releasing it just to kind of let it drop, and then you kind of ease it down with your hands. But he didn't do that. He actually, you know, just threw it out of his hands like he's throwing a baby across the room.
Use your hips to send that up. There you go.
Yeah. You see how they kind of to move the thing back. They didn't like that. They didn't like that at all. The box jumps are pretty brutal.
And a fight, depending on how it goes, I mean, I've had some that are really quick, where you train for 12 weeks and you're in phenomenal shape and they knock you out in 50 seconds. And you're happy because you're not hurt, you're getting, you know, your full pay. But you're also like, I didn't get to show all my hard work. And I've had times where I'm in the best shape of my life, like my Ben Rothwell fight or Big Nog fight, where you're in Brazil and you get knocked out in the first round, you know? So those are I would say the easy ones. Whether you win or lose, those are the easy ones.
Terrible rowing technique as well. The rowing technique is flipping terrible. Terrible. The legs splayed open wide, the fucking rounded back. It's not coming up. It's not really coming up to his chest that much. It's really meant to be, you know what I mean, right up into your tits. Yeah, the technique is terrible. But, you know, rowing's hard anyway, to be fair to him. Rowing's not difficult. Rowing's not the easiest thing to do on a concept too, especially when you're tired. It kind of saps it out of you.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Woo. Yeah, that's much better. He looks much better, that guy. His technique looks a lot better.
All right, so now they get a minute rest. Let's go see how this fight's going. All right, how we doing in there?
All right.
Yeah? You feel a little winded?
Jesus Christos, brother. Look how bad he looks. This is after one round. He legitimately looks like he's blowing out of his ass, isn't it? And unfortunately, he looks like he's wearing a mask as well, isn't it? Unfortunately, he actually looks Mexican here, isn't it? Mexican. He actually looks more Mexican here. Don't you think? Or someone wearing like a Halloween Brendan Schaub flipping mask or something. Yes, big up Dark Web J, big up. You know what's funny also? This is the natural consequences of drinking a lot and doing a lot of flipping, you know, drugs such as like nicotine and all that sort of malarkey. This is what it leads to, unfortunately. It's very difficult to try and work out on the back of a hangover. Trust me, I've tried it. I've tried to work out on a come down, on a hangover, and it isn't fun. You legitimately feel like you want to die, and then you start questioning your life choices, your decisions, why you're alive, you're an embarrassment. You start to have all these things race through your head if you're at least a normal person, but I'm sure he legitimately thought he was going to crush it, and this is really surprising.
A little winded.
Yeah, taking some body shots?
Some body shots. I think I lost that first round. We're just feeling it out.
All right, yeah, you're feeling it out.
I feel like I took a shot to the nuts.
That first round shot to the nuts got him a solid $75. But let's skip ahead a little bit. After Brendan and the crew finished this workout, Marsden and I wanted to take it on. But so that we could continue on with this charitable concept of giving money away, we called up a friend in need. All right, everybody.
They seem to be nice dudes, aren't they? Like, legitimately, they're doing all of this to flipping be nice guys, to fucking give money away for the charity. It's really wholesome. Like, like that's what I'm saying. It's really odd how they seem to be friends with Brendan. They're complete opposites in terms of how they create content, their intentions behind the creating content. They're trying to have fun. They're trying to be funny. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like a weird mix. Maybe it's a clouty thing because if you're in LA, you kind of just want to be around people who have big reach so you can kind of reach people. But I think this connection with Brendan is probably doing them more harm than good. Like, look at the dislike ratio. Look at the dislike ratio. Like, that's horrendous. And I'm assuming the other videos don't get that kind of dislike, but just because it's with Brendan, people are attacking it. Do you know what I mean? Like, but they're probably decent in that regard. So that's obviously not cool. But anyway, let's continue.
Everybody, this is one of my longest and oldest friends, Chris Jones. I started CrossFit back in 2009, and you were one of the guys that came to the gym with me.
Yep, from the beginning.
Let's get after it.
Tried to light the fire.
Let's do
bro.
this.
I'm ready to roll.
I'm gonna judge
I
you,
haven't warmed
you
up
know?
at all. Maybe we should go wide.
Give him them minutes, dog.
Good advertisement for this goal wad thing, but you need to just stop it with the advertisements, people. Come on.
And where do you feel physically now?
A lot weaker.
There we go. You really see where your training comes into play there. So it's all about like controlling really your heart rate and like when to explode, when not to explode over 15 minutes.
How we feeling?
The third round, everyone's gonna be tired, you know? So it's just about being less tired than the other guy. This is why they don't have heavyweight fights at high elevation anymore.
He's blaming the high elevation. Have you ever heard anyone say that when they go to a gym? That the gym's at high elevation, that's why I'm breathing so hard. That's why I'm breathing out of my literal nutsack. Come on, geezer. Just say, look, I've not been working out as much as I should be. I flipping swap an e-bike for an actual real bike and take that on the trail. I was thinking I'm cycling, which might have helped hurt my flipping cardio. Whatever, right? My drinking maybe has got a bit too crazy. I just had a whole bottle of whiskey the other day. Maybe that's hurting me. But to sit there and say elevation in the fucking gym, are you insane? The elevation.
I felt it this morning, so dry.
Yeah, the dryness
I
for
had the worst
sure.
headache.
Yeah.
I'm good.
The headache is from the booze, brother. That's what happens when you drink a lot of booze. The headache is from the booze. Trust me, I know. I've been there.
Get like bloody nose boogers too when you come back. All right, 10 seconds. Let's get to it. Ball. After 2 rounds for Chris, he's earned a solid $160.
Brendan collected another 65 that round, totaling out to 140.
With 1 more round to go, how much can they make? Go. 2.
Actually, way better squat technique in that wall ball shots from BGL than Brendan, to be fair.
How important is like a sleep factor the night before a fight?
Yeah, I used to always worry about that because the anxiety of when you fight, like sleep's super important. They brought in these Navy SEALs to talk to us. Navy SEAL was like, the night before the fight, your sleep really doesn't matter. It's the 2 days before that is gonna add value to the Saturday fight. Now they might just be full of shit, trying to make sure like, don't worry guys, but you know.
And by the way, box jumps are brutal, especially when you miss them and your knee hits the edge of that box. Oh, sweet baby Jesus. The worst one is actually the one I've got in my leisure center in my flipping local gym. It's like a YMCA type gym. They don't have boxes. They have these things. They have this like, it's like an adult jungle gym sort of thing, right? And it's got like a little metal thing that you can clip up to make it different heights, but it's a sort of like platform that you can clip up and you jump on that. When you miss that, that really makes you want to question your life choices. You want to scream so bad, but usually there's some girl walking by or some buff dude, so you don't want to look weak, and you don't want to look weak in front of either person, so you just kind of hold it in. But that hurts so bad. It's like stubbing your little toe basically.
So you can run sprints, do wall balls, some of the stuff we're gonna do today. Nothing will emulate the fight. The only way to get like in fight shape is by fighting.
It's a lot worse than remember. And I was giving my max effort, like, you know, like I was, because we're talking about replicating a fight, is like, when we see fighters in the end, they're like kind of tired, and like, as the spectator, you're like, come on, like, just hit him. You're like, no, this is the best they got, like, you know.
Raw, man, that bigger dude is going for it with the overhead presses. Very solid technique.
That's it.
My boy finishes off. He cleared me out.
I'll go. Yes, BJ is wearing a sleeveless hoodie. You should bust it out. Yeah, if you ever see me wearing a sleeveless hoodie, you should call the police. If you ever see me wearing a hoodie, a shirt that's got a hood on it but it's sleeveless, you should call the police. Honestly, call the police. I swear to God, call the police. I don't even know where you buy stuff like that. Like, what is that? Is that like a gym? Is that like a Gymshark thing that you purchase? Like, where the hell do you get sleeveless shirt hoodies from? Like, what is that? Because it doesn't look like a hoodie, because that hood doesn't look like it stays on your head. It's just there for style. But why would you want a shirt that looks like a hoodie with no sleeves on it? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It doesn't look cool. It doesn't make you look badass. It makes you look like an absolute plonker. Either wear a hoodie or wear a shirt. Wear a hoodie or wear a t-shirt, or wear a sleeveless t-shirt. Like, there's loads of options out there. A sleeveless hoodie t-shirt. Like, excuse me? Who am I? What am I? What are we doing here?
201 total reps today.
That's more money than I made in the UFC.
Where you at, Dana White? Come and get some, bro.
That was way harder than I remember. I haven't done that workout since we all worked at CrossFit together. Honestly, I'm thinking like 2011, 2012. I was a much different person. That was a fight.
I think you won, too.
I think I did. The talent of the scores.
The olden days, man. The originals. Miko Salo, don't lay on the ground after a workout.
Okay, let's get to the scores. Let's see what the scores were. Oh, let's see what the scores are. They're doing that fucking promotion for that app. Fair enough. Got to pay the bills. Let's get to the scores.
Get to work, get it.
So we got Brendan with 201 reps. And then we got in second place, Mark with 332 reps.
Woo! Oh, wow.
And then Julian.
Jesus Christ. BGL beat Brendan. This roid-filled cokehead, right? Self-admitted, right? Allegedly, with fucking size 6 feet, somehow managed to beat the former UFC fighter in a workout that's meant to flipping, you know, illustrate or fucking reflect an actual fight. Don't you think that's absolutely hilarious?
3 reps ahead at 335. Whoa! Got him by 3 reps.
Good shit. It's tough. I paced myself way too much, and then I didn't want to take all your guys' money, so I just wanted to...
He can't even admit when he's get absolutely beat in it. Look at that face. Former athlete is incapable of blitzing some, you know, I don't know, guys who probably have full-time jobs and who work out around their jobs, who just do this as a really cool hobby, or maybe they don't, maybe they train, whatever. But you think of someone that got paid to work out should be able to work out better than people who don't get paid to work out. You would imagine so, but you know, stranger things have happened anyway. So big up the Buttery Bros regardless. I thought it was a pretty decent video. Big up everybody that was in part of that competition. I think the bigger guy actually beat Brendan as well, scored. That was quite hilarious. Also the guy with the green t-shirt, so big up him for smashing it on that regard. Big up him. What are you guys saying over in the chat? What are you guys saying? I've got it up on me on my phone. What are you guys saying? All Brendan's sidekicks beat him in sports. Yeah, true. The fact of the matter is, which I think is quite evident now looking at it, especially looking at these videos, especially considering that I know certain people who have become professional athletes in different sports, tennis, cricket, football, basketball. There's a couple of boys that I know through other people who have gone on to have trials in NFL teams, didn't get picked or anything, but you know, have gone pretty far. You know when someone's athletic, and you know when somebody's just genetically gifted. And I think Brendan is just genetically gifted. He's a big dude, right? His dad's a big dude, his brother's a big dude, he's a big guy. But in terms of coordination, in terms of explosiveness, in terms of strength, pretty average in that regard. Pretty average, because when he does do these workouts, like I said before, if you've been around professional athletes, it doesn't matter if the person's fat, if the person even has one leg, you can tell, okay, this person, he or she used to play professional sports. It's pretty evident. You can tell it straight away from looking from afar and stuff. So the fact that you can't tell apart, you know, BGL, Brendan and the other dude goes to show that, you know, whatever athletic prowess this man had is long gone. And he was never really that athletic in the first place, which means that the whole UFC thing was something of a timing thing. He came about at just the right time where he was able to segue his athleticism, or quote unquote, from football into UFC. And then as soon as the skill level started to improve, or he started to go up and he required more skill, he suddenly got found wanting, and he had to kind of, you know, end up pivoting to something else. That's basically what ended up happening. But yeah, I thought that video was pretty interesting regardless. And then the funny thing is also, it's like, look at the difference in him from that video that we just saw to these kind of videos that we see here, right? Of him working out. I think this is from like 6 years ago. This is from a place called Muscle Madness or something, when he actually used to work out and he actually looked like he was in somewhat good shape, and he wasn't on the whiskey as much as he is now. The difference is pretty crazy, man. I'm not going to lie. Let's let this video load up. Fast forward a bit. Like, even from the shoulders, you can tell the guy has been completely different. Let's get rid of that horrible music, by the way. But even just from the shoulders, he looks completely different, doesn't he? Right? Like, from what he is looking now, like, it's pretty horrendous to see. And the funny thing is, you know why it's different, because I remember when I used to listen to the show, you'd hear him brag a lot more about working out. Like, oh yeah, got to work out, woke up at 6 a.m, went on a 6 mile run. He used to brag more often about what he actually used to do. Now you hardly hear him mention anything to do with working out, because he doesn't. And when someone asks him if he worked out, he quickly jumps and lies about it, because he feels flipping, you know, he feels maybe ashamed that he doesn't work out as much as before. But the whiskey and the flipping food truck diaries overtook his life, and now he's in this position where, you know, he looks the way he looks now, which is a real shame, to be honest. Like I said before, being a professional athlete and going to all that work and then kind of losing it all to whiskey and fucking kratom is bizarre. But yeah, look, he's even got pop here. He even looks like he's got a bit of pop than compared to that Buttery Bros video. Do you know what I mean? It's pretty crazy to think that. But yeah, the lack of pace though, Jesus Christ, he's slow. A little bit. But yeah, look at the box jumps. Look how much better he looks here compared to that Buttery Bros video. That's what happens when you're not drinking. Yeah, he's not hungover here. He looks clearly a lot more refreshed. So yeah, crazy times, man. Crazy times. But that's probably a cautionary tale to make sure. Yeah, exactly. His face got bloated too. Someone said in the comments. That's probably a cautionary tale to make sure that you don't go too crazy when it goes to the booze and everything else in between, because the difference can be quite startling. Like, look at that. Look how different he looks. He looks like an absolute specimen here. Like, really ripped. No? That looks like a fit guy that works out from top to bottom. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. But anyway, moving on from that one. Let's close this. And let's move on. What I'll talk to you about here. Bada bing, bada boom. Oh yeah, please talk about this. So, there's this clip that someone shared in the Fighting the Kids subreddit that really flipping annoyed me and obviously did my nutting. And I'm sure most of you can understand why when you see what they put on the screen. Of course, Bryan Callen promoting these horrendous, crappy, dog shit sandals. I already hate sandals anyway. And then when I don't hate sandals, it's only meant to, you know, the only place where I think sandals are acceptable is on vacation. Or if you live in a sunny, hot place, like you live in, you know, Hawaii or something, or you're living in somewhere in Southeast Asia, like Bali or Indonesia or whatnot. Everybody wear everybody there wears sandals. For you to walk around in fucking Jordan 6s makes absolutely no sense. I get it. But this thing that he's shilling, this grift that he's putting on where everywhere he walks and every podcast he's on flipping wearing these sandals really absolutely does my nut in. And the funny thing is about it is it's 100% a grift. If he wasn't involved in the business of this, or if he wasn't cancelled, he would never be promotional pushing these flipping 600 quid sandals, because essentially he's trying to push these sandals out only applicable to what? The small 5% of people out there who can afford £500 elephant skin sandals, right? That have been made with flipping the tears of elephants and other mammals and rhinos out there in Africa. And those are the people that can afford these kind of things or would buy them. And it's absolutely horrendous. So I hate everything about these sandals. Everything they represent, they really do get on my nerves.
Because I think people are starting to see that these are, well, you really only need one pair for life. I can't stop wearing them. Every time I give them to people, Rogan just sent me.
No, don't worry, bruv. We know you can't stop wearing them because look how black they are. Do you know what I mean? No offense, but white people don't wash their feet anyway, right? You niggas don't wash your feet. You just wash your armpits and your faces and shit when you go in the shower. You just let the water run down your feet and you think you wash your feet. So it's no surprise that once he's wearing these sandals with no socks every single day, they're flipping covered in black smut. Black flipping feet goo. Do you know what I mean? Black feet goo they're flipping covered in. Absolutely horrendous. Maybe wash your feet a little bit and maybe scrub the bottom of your feet with a flipping loofah or something or whatever it may be, and maybe the black sort of thing or the soles of your sandals wouldn't be so black. But we know you wear them. We know you can't get rid of them. We know.
Wearing them. Every time I give them to people, Rogan just sent me a picture of his feet in them.
What?
What is a word? Antioxidant? No. What is it? Catalyst and shut the fuck up. Come on, man. I got it. It's at the tip of my tongue. Okay. I love it.
You know what's funny about that video, right? That little clip, so big up everyone fighting the kid who put it together. But I was just wondering myself as well when I saw that clip of him flipping grifting these horrible sandals. Why would you do that? Why would you do that, right? Because I've been somebody who's grown up with a variety of friends, right? I've grown up in a really bad neighborhood and really grew up, relatively poor, I'd say, for the most part, of maybe working class. But, I was lucky enough to be in a school where, the socioeconomic levels sort of cross in different ways. And I was in different groups and, different flipping classes and stuff. And my education side of things allowed me to meet different people. And you'd meet these people and stuff and you find out, I don't know, someone had a rich parent or whatever. And usually if you're from a dodgy neighborhood and you have rich parents, they usually try and keep it hush, or they feel a little bit embarrassed or a little bit ashamed about it because there are people in your class that generally haven't had breakfast, and here you are with your flipping Gucci bag and you're only 10 years old. It makes complete sense. But I've never seen it as a bad thing if you do grow up with a family that's well off. It's a blessing, right? Like your parents worked hard, or maybe their parents worked hard and left them an inheritance, but regardless, somebody in your family busted their ass to the point where you have the ability to grow up with in relative affluence, right? You don't have to worry about certain things. You don't have to worry about your next meal. You don't have to worry about having clothes on your back or getting to school. Everything is pretty hunky-dory. So when you get that sort of blessing bestowed upon you, I think you owe it to yourself to either do something really cool, right? Like, or interesting to kind of, I don't know, help humanity or something, or give back, or just live an easy life. Just enjoy the riches, the hard work of your forefathers put out there. Be a decent person for the most part, but just enjoy the riches of them. Just enjoy it. And when I look at Bryan Callen, I think to myself, like, you've got a dad who clearly was very successful and clearly busted his ass, right? There's this bio of him from flipping Georgetown University. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but this is basically Bryan Callen's dad, right? And if you read through this bio, this man is a fucking beast. Like, he legitimately worked his ass off and from the, I wouldn't say from the relative bottom, and got himself to a place where he was legitimately one of the main people at fucking Citibank, to the point where they were asking him to flip in, look after and manage, launches of Citibank in the Middle East and North Africa and whatnot, parts of Asia. He was an integral part of that place, and to the point where you would imagine that kind of job would have probably put him in a place where he was like a legit millionaire, like legitimately super early on in life, before he probably even started a family, right? So I can't understand why somebody who comes from that sort of relative wealth will be wasting their time selling elephant sandals. Why would you sell elephant sandals if your papa has the ability to fund your lifestyle and let you do cool and interesting things? I don't know, set up something cool and interesting in that. Like, is that the only thing you could have really plucked out of your brain to make that work? It doesn't make any sense. And I think if if my dad was fucking Michael Callen, I'd be damned if I'd be on a podcast, you know, trying to shill flipping elephant sandals. If anything, I'd maybe try and give them away, but I wouldn't be trying to shill them. My dad used to work for fucking Citibank, for fuck's sake, right? You opened up offices in Riyadh. Do you know what I mean? Why am I here selling flipping sandals? It makes absolutely no sense. So that's the kind of thing that I don't really understand when it comes to him. But I guess that's the kind of the scourge of Hollywood. It's more so just like an ego thing, right? You just want to be famous. You don't want to give that side of the thing up. But I just don't understand it. If I had a family like that was as affluent, as wealthy as clearly the Callens are, you know, I wouldn't be spending my time in some rank shack studio talking about conspiracies or trying to pontificate about fucking crappy sandals, especially now off the back of the cancellation. That's the thing I wanted to make. Maybe at the beginning, everyone wants to, you know, you want to maybe find your own way. You don't want to go into banking like your dad does. It's not something you're passionate about. I get it. And you don't want to be just another rich kid. I get it. But if I got cancelled in my flipping 50s and people accuse me of rape, you'd be damned to see me on a fucking podcast again. I'd be taking my time and actually going out and doing other things apart from sitting there and doing the fucking podcast. Like, I wouldn't be doing that. Not in the slightest. But what are people saying here on the chat? Callen is trying to prove his father that he can make it without his money. Believe you me, he wants to inherit the money. Of course. And most likely he probably still gets the money now, because how else is he gonna be paying alimony? Like, not to pocket watch, but the alimony, if I remember it correctly, wasn't it like 20k a month? He has to pay his flipping ex-wife and, you know, and his kids and shit, like, for child support, like 20 grand a month. He's not making 20 grand a month on T5K. I don't believe that. Maybe he makes that, maybe he makes near that on the podcast he does with what's his name, Sam Tripoli, maybe. But that's behind a paywall, so who knows? But that's a lot of money, mate. That's a lot of comedy gigs, you know what I mean? So for sure, Papa Callen is definitely sponsoring that in that regard. What's that? Wasn't Callen's dad in the CIA? No, it wasn't CIA. He was just a really high up person in Citibank. But maybe CIA too, who knows? SCHAUB'S dying to spread every deck, fallout his Irish scene. PC is better. Convert, my friend. Is that for me, Dennis Michaels? You're saying I should get a PC? I'm actually gonna end up getting a streaming laptop soon. I might actually gift myself that as a Christmas present. I'm gonna get a streaming laptop because I can't have a dedicated PC in one place, because the place I live in is quite small. I need things to move around, so I'm gonna get a streaming laptop and use that to stream on and stuff, and that should be fairly robust, because those things you can actually play, you know, games on live and stuff and all that malarkey. So I'm definitely gonna get that for Christmas. I think I'm gonna gift myself that, especially because I think my phone contract renewals up in January, so I don't need to buy a phone. So I might actually spend that money I might have bought on a phone on a nice streaming laptop, so you won't be seeing anything buffering or skipping as much as it is before here in the past. So just keep an eye out for that one, and I'll let you guys know when that happens. Moving on from that, I wanted to quickly talk about this, because this I think is legitimately annoying, and I don't really understand why this is happening. So I think some of you guys are aware that UFC 280 happened, right, over just this past weekend, and there was a controversial fight between Petr Yan and Sugar Sean O'Malley, right, or Sean Sugar O'Malley, and it was a split decision win for Sean O'Malley. Now, some people are suggesting that Sean O'Malley didn't win that fight because of how close it was, and because of some of the takedowns that Petr Yan had, and how flipping highlight reel worthy they were, because I think a couple of them he picked Sugar Sean up on his shoulder and slammed him down, right? So they looked pretty impressive, but he didn't really do much damage when he was on top, really, to be honest. I think Sugar Sean did defend himself on the back quite well. But regardless, the whole MMA community, UFC community, was split about who won the fight. And I guess because a lot of people think the UFC coddle Sugar Sean and give him loads of easy fights, essentially because they think he's one of their biggest stars and they want to make sure that he doesn't get knocked out and keep winning and stuff. A lot of people think he gets the advantage, so maybe that's why he ended up winning. So the decision, so the thing, you know, we're split in terms of our opinion about who won the fight, but it was a pretty close fight. You can understand if you thought one or the other person won. I rewatched the fight again the other day, and I have to say the first round for sure, Petr Yan took it. He definitely came out on the front foot. Second round, I'll say goes to Sugar Sean, but again there was a couple of good takedowns from Petr in that round that kind of throw it up, you know, 50-50 type thing. And then the third round was a one where I couldn't really call it, to be fair. I thought both guys really kind of dug deep, you know, bit into their mouth guards and were taking loads of damage and really trying to, you know, put the other guy out as well. So you got to actually see that Sugar Sean has a pretty decent chin, and Petr Yan was obviously somebody that, you know, we knew was going to give Sean O'Malley issues anyway. But close fight, nothing else needs to be said. Very, very close fight. But for some reason, for some redacted reason, Brendan thinks this closeness of the fight and the backlash that Sean is getting from this, only from the fight and maybe his reaction, and maybe because in general he's a bit of a troll, but he's not hated in the way that Brendan is in the slightest. But for some reason, Brendan's took it upon himself to become the Sugar Sean O'Malley like protection squad. He's gone out there on the limb and basically used it as an excuse to basically remind people that he's the most hated one and all this stuff and what he's gone through. It's a very bizarre thing to do, and it's just and look what he's called it too. He clipped it from his show. It's called Brendan Schaub's Sugar Sean rant, and he's basically trying his best to basically become Sugar Sean's best friend in hating and stuff, which is a weird thing to kind of try and curry favor with. But let's just see what Brendan has to say about it and how he basically tries to make it all about himself in a weird way.
He doesn't deserve to be in there with the top 3 guys in the world, because not only did he show out and put on a great fight, even if he lost that decision, you can't tell me he's not a top 5 talent. Even if the judges sided with the majority of what the fan base and the MMA quote-unquote experts think, which there's really not a lot of experts in this space. Experts is such a loose term when it comes to sports, so new. But people that cover it, most of the people that
you can hardly talk. What?
The people that cover it.
Hold on, let's go back to that sentence again. What did he say there?
Decision. You can't tell me he's not a top 5 talent. Even if the judges sided with the majority of what the fan base and the MMA quote-unquote experts think, which there's really not a lot of experts in this space. Experts is such a loose term when it comes to sports, so new. But people...
That's a cope, in it. Of course there's experts. There's people who sit there and watch tape. They watch previous fights. That's the thing as well with him. He doesn't even do that thing where, I forgot who that guy is, but there's a few people that do it where they follow different promotions like around Europe and shit. Stuff that's outside of, you know, stuff that's in fucking South America. Like stuff that we don't get to see on social media because it's really underground, really kind of grassroots type of thing, and they follow these guys' trajectory all the way until they get to the UFC or they get to another major organization. They do that kind of stuff, like actual research, you know what I mean? They go and interview these people at their flipping local gyms and whatnot, or get the, you know, the lowdown on them through other coaches. They actually do the work that's needed to kind of be an expert. That's all you need to do. Just have a flipping curiosity about it, pay attention to it, do a lot of research, bloody blah blah blah. Over time you become an expert. So this idea that you can't become an expert in a sport that's new is ridiculous. Like, it's just a cope because he doesn't do that. I mean, he doesn't do that work himself, which is really interesting too, because he was a former professional athlete himself, a former fighter. So the fact that he's so resistant to tell anybody or to accept that somebody is an expert is very, very telling.
People that cover it, most of the people that cover it, whether it's MMA Fighting, MMA Junkie, Sherdog, you name it, all those things, ESPN guys, all those major, you know, media outlets all scored it for Petr Yan. Let's say that it did go Petr Yan's way. Even if it did, you still can't sit here and tell me that Sugar Sean is an elite. He proved all you guys wrong, all the haters wrong, that he is an elite, high-level UFC fighter. Matter of fact, now he's the elite. He's top 3, easily. As far as striking goes, there's a reason Petr Yan was shooting so much. And it ain't because he wanted to, because he's getting pieced up on the feet by a guy who's ranked number 11.
He wasn't really getting pieced up. Petr Yan landed a couple of big bombs, loads of good overhand rights, if I remember correctly. I think one where he patted his hand down and kind of came from the top. I'm pretty sure I remember a couple of those. One that actually kind of sat Sugar Sean down a little bit, but he kind of stayed up a little bit too. Like, he landed some bombs. This idea he didn't have, like, and some really good calf kicks and leg kicks as well, just in general. This is a really bizarre assessment. But anyway, let's continue.
You're ranked number 1. Peter Yan's known for his striking, right? He's not. His go-to isn't wrestling. His go-to usually is on the feet, his footwork, wearing the guy out, throwing combinations, knocking guys out. Didn't happen with Sugar Sean, did it? Sugar Sean's elite. So if you guys want something to hate on, man, you can take a big chunk out of it now. He's just getting started. So if you woke up this morning on the wrong side of the bed and you're upset that this guy with pink hair, the rainbow hair, and the tattoos, and he's hanging out with Tekashi 6ix9ine, if you hate him before, he's just getting started.
Why is he so, like, gleeful and so happy that Sugar Sean's getting all this hate off the back of this fight? Like, why does it bring him so much happiness? Is it because he thinks that he's had a brother in arms now because, you know, he might be one of the other more hated guys coming up and stuff? I don't get it. Like, if anything, people hate Sugar Sean for, like, a legitimate reason, because they feel like he gets gimme fights, and maybe this was his first real test. Maybe the fight with Chito Vera, was another test that some people think he failed. I don't necessarily think so. I think, you know, the injury obviously really compromised him, and I think if he goes into that fight again with, you know, Chito Vera, I think it would end differently for sure. I think it'd be a lot closer than people actually give him credit for. But maybe Chito's a really, you know, in terms of, he's probably bigger than him in terms of frame. I don't know, but those are maybe the only 2 tests he's had. The rest of them have been pretty easy. He's been given an easy sort of run up, especially if you compare his fights to something like, I don't know, what Darren Till has basically got, right? They're completely different. So the hate that he gets, Sugar Sean, is pretty warranted in that fact, because people think that he's getting preferential treatment, and maybe because, you know, Sugar Sean doesn't acknowledge his preferential treatment and kind of trolls back. But it's not even crazy hate. It's just like, you know, they get it because he's like the golden child and Dana's kind of boy, whatever. It is what it is. But he's trying to equate the hate that Sugar Sean gets for fighting for what people give him for thinking that his whole career has been gifted to him by flipping Joe Rogan. They think he's horrible at what he does. I don't understand it. Like, there's no correlation between them in the slightest at all. Zero.
You have a lot of animosity towards that man now, because if you thought he was big before, he just beat the number 1 bantamweight in the world. No matter how you feel about it, he beat him. But let's talk about numbers. Let's just talk about the fight. In our sport, there's always these terms that get popular and become this regurgitating theme because people don't think for themselves. So it's, oh, he's chinny, right? That for a long time, he's chinny. He's chinny. Chinny was a thing. Chin was a thing. I'm not saying my producer chin. I'm talking about if a guy lost, whether he had, you know, 10 knockouts and was on a 10-fight win streak, he gets clipped. Oh, he's chinny. It's this whole chin thing. That kind of went away. People got more educated. It's very rare they use it. Maybe it's a veteran and, you know, and he is getting knocked out. Like an example of a person where we say their chin's gone would be Bigfoot Silva, right? That guy, I will accept if you say he's chinny. That works in that case. For the rest of the guys, it doesn't really work, and the audience moved on from him and got more educated, so we stopped using that. Well, now the new term is he got robbed. It's a robbery. Whether it's a decision, whatever, split decision, majority.
Who's he arguing with also? Who's saying this? I've seen a lot of people on social media say it's split. Even people here in the chat are saying the same things. You guys, some people are saying, you know, Peter Yan won. People are saying that flipping Sugar Sean won. But no one here is sitting here saying, you know, one or the other got robbed. No one's saying that. People are just saying it's a tight fight, and maybe giving a split decision to Sean is a little bit of favoritism. But it's not a robbery. It's just a close fight, because I don't think anyone can really call the 3rd round unless you... It's how you basically scored takedowns. I don't know, because like I said, I think the takedowns that Peter Yan did were really highlight reel worthy, because he was getting him up on his shoulder and slamming him down and shit. But when I watched the fight back, after he slammed him on the floor, there wasn't much damage inflicted on Sugar Sean. Like, he was really defending himself pretty well off the back. Let's be fair. You know what I mean? His jiu-jitsu and grappling isn't that great, but his defense was amazing once he was on the back. He was kind of avoiding a lot of big, heavy shots. He wasn't getting really blitzed and stuff. Like, you saw what Aljamain Sterling did to what's-his-face the other day. That's what you do when you've actually got someone on the ground. You actually want to inflict damage on them. Do you know what I mean? So I don't understand why he's... And so I don't get who he's arguing with. I don't get this flickering idea that everyone said it's a robbery because no one did. And the fight was close. That's what people are talking about. It's a close fight, but no one's saying it's a robbery.
Majority decision, oh, he got robbed. I don't think you guys know what the term robbery means if you're going around throwing that term out there, especially in the case of Sugar Sean O'Malley.
Oh, so are you an expert now? You just said experts don't exist. Are you an expert?
Peter Yan. Nobody got robbed. Nothing is a robbery here. It was a split decision. A robbery would be a guy who clearly wins 3 or 5 rounds, clearly dominates, and then the judges give it the complete other way. The complete other way, 30-27, 50, whatever, 50-45. That's a robbery. It's like, Jesus Christ. Robbery, for example, for you guys that like to use the term, would be, in the sport of boxing, it'd be Canelo versus Triple G, the first one. That was a robbery. Triple G definitely won that, but they had the fixes in for Canelo. All good. He did it. Then you end up, the second fight, you could also call it robbery. The third one, you can't. Canelo validated himself and beat him there, even though he was a lot older. Either way, that first one would be a robbery. A robbery would be Robbie Lawler Condit for the belt. A robbery would be Machida Shogun Rua. Those are robberies where it's clear as day the other guy dominated. A robbery would be for you guys to use it so you sound educated when you use the term robbery, because you're using it so.
Why is he being so condescending and taking it so personal? I do not understand what is happening here. Because if I'm not being mistaken here, Sugar Sean has thrown a couple of pot shots at Brendan in terms of trolling him and saying some things on his own podcast. So I don't get why he's kind of trying to go out there really hard and be the Sugar Sean O'Malley attack squad thing. Is he trying to make Sugar Sean his new Logan or flipping Jake Paul or something? Is that what he's trying to do? He's trying to ingratiate himself and become his friend and hope that Sugar Sean clips this and puts it on his social media. It's weird.
So much it's lost its meaning, because now every robbery, oh, that's a robbery. No, it's not. You know what the fuck you're talking about. A robbery would be Johnny Hendricks GSP. That's a robbery. This isn't a robbery. Johnny Hendricks, no matter who you talk to, you look at that, he won multiple rounds, the majority of the rounds. You might give GSP 1 there. I could see maybe 2. Sure as hell, and no facet 3. But these judges did. That would be a robbery. This is not a robbery. If you go back and watch the fight, which I have 4 times now before I came in here and made this point, if you go through the rounds 1, 2, and 3, it would be tough if you take it without a biased viewpoint, with however you feel about Sugar Sean. If you know a thing or two about the way they score fights, they have a criteria, so it takes out the bias of the fight. So if you went into the fight a huge Peter Yan fan, it doesn't matter. You have to score it on these certain topics. You have to. These certain things, cage control, damage being number 1. Just so let's make it clear before I make this point. For the judges, the number 1 determining factor of a round is damage.
Okay, I'm bored now. But anyway, that's the point that he made. And the funny thing is, Joe Rogan completely disagreed with him. I think Khabib also, there's a video of Khabib in the gym where he's basically like, no, I think in the back, before Thingamajiggy's fight. And he's like, how the hell did Sugar Sean win that fight? It's impossible. And Joe Rogan believes Sugar Sean, Peter Yan beat Sugar Sean in that fight also. So it says as follows: Joe Rogan thinks Sugar Sean O'Malley fight, a group fight against Peter Yan, but that it shouldn't have been enough for him to claim victory. O'Malley won a controversial split decision over Yan after a grueling 3-round contest at the Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi last weekend. Both men got dropped and almost finished, but somehow made it to the final bell, with both earning a Fight of the Night honors and Sugar inserting himself into the title contention, much to the dismay of his critics. Despite O'Malley outlanding Yan in significant strikes, 84-58, many fans feel the latter should have been awarded a victory due to the advantage of the ground and the takedowns. No Mercy landed 6 out of 13 takedowns and accumulated 5 minutes of ground control. And there was also a really sweet, I remember, I forgot what round it was, maybe it was round 2. Peter Yan did that really cool judo takedown thing that a lot of those guys, Dagestani, Russian-y guys do, where it's the one that you kind of step in and you kind of sweep down. It looks so good. It looks so good. And he, you know, he kind of tripped thing straight away. I forgot what the move is called, but it's sort of like a thing where you step in and you trip the person. It was beautiful. Rogan shares the sentiment that Yan should have won, but believes the problem lies with how the takedowns are scored and what value they ought to have. He says, and I quote, "A lot of people were shocked at that decision," Rogan said in his recent episode on his podcast. There's a video of Khabib Nurmagomedov watching the decision, and Khabib says, how did he win? How? He was certainly in the fight against Petr Yan. He was a former champion, one of the best in the division, by far the #1 contender. It was a very close fight, and he definitely hurt Petr Yan on multiple occasions, caught him with a big knee and rocked him. The question is, how much is a takedown worth? How much is control worth? He added. Takedowns without damage, what is that valued? I'm not denying that Petr Yan won, because I think that he won at the end of it. One of the problems is that I feel very limited by his 10-9 scoring system. I don't think it's a good system for MMA. So even the experts that you would think as an expert, right, in Joe Rogan, is saying that Petr Yan won. So clearly there's a split in the camp. So the fact that Brendan is going so hard at kind of being the defense squad for O'Malley and making it seem like the trolls, they don't know what they're talking about, bloody, it's just a strange position to take, because there's clearly some confusion as to how, you know, Sean won that on a split decision because of what happened in the fight and because of what people scored the fight to be. So it's just is what it is. It's just who you maybe prefer in terms of, you know, deciding who basically won that. But it makes complete sense why some people would be kind of siding for Sugar Sean in this. But like I said, the him latching onto this and trying to be his defense squad is really bizarre, mate. I'm not really too sure. And there's a clip of it as well where it kind of ingratiates in. I'm going to put it up on the screen for you to see. This is from the recent episode where he basically tries to summarize his thoughts on Sugar Sean and why he's basically, you know, going out of his way to defend him and basically try and stand next to him in the hate. It's really bizarre.
You know, Sugar, because he's Sugar and he does troll people and do stuff like that. When you do that, trust me, I get it, you're getting a lot of hate. You have a lot of fans, you have a lot of hate. Welcome to the club, Sugar, right?
But you don't troll anyone. It's not welcome to the club. Sugar definitely does troll people and does all that stuff in order to kind of promote his own brand. I think he said that previously, right? Because the UFC doesn't really pay that well, and the UFC only prioritize fighters who fans want to see or fans are attracted to or like. So he made himself into a bit of a character. Maybe he plays up to it. Maybe that is actually him, but that's what he's clearly doing. It's an entertainment sport in a way, so it makes sense why he's kind of going out in this way. But the Brendan thing isn't about him being a troll. It's about people thinking he's undeserving of his success, and they also don't like him as a person. That's basically what the hate is. It's not similar in the slightest to what he's talking about with Sean.
So you get a lot of that shit. And so when they don't have that narrative to run on, going, he's only fought, you know, powder puffs, he's overhyped, the UFC's just doing it because he's big on social media. Now that narrative's not there anymore. So his haters gonna have to get creative and come up with something else. What else you got?
His haters.
It ain't there. What else you got?
Because
he's haters. People that doubt, it's not haters, people that doubt that he's that good. Now he's proved it, because obviously he was very competitive against a former champion and somebody who people think is a #1 title contender. Why wouldn't it be but people are okay to doubt somebody that keeps getting gimme fights, they think, especially if you look at his record and whatnot. His only 2 actual legit fights against actual legit people were, you know, Petr Yan, you'd say, and obviously Chito Vera, sorry. So it's fair to be a bit skeptical about his potential, but he clearly proved it. The guy's got a head of a chin, he took a lot of blows, he's very durable, he's got decent takedown defense, he's good off his back, he's pretty sneaky too, because there's a lot of like glove holding and cage holding and shit. He's quite, you know, he's got that kind of wily veteran thing about him where he can do the dark arts to prevent himself getting any damage and to make sure he wins a fight, you know, clearly, and it worked. But the skepticism is allowed because clearly the UFC have identified him as like the next star that they want to, you know, push, and because he's kind of ready-made, right? He's got his own brand outside of the UFC that's pretty successful, that does well for him. So for the UFC, it's advantageous for him to push him because he's kind of plug and play. But Brendan thinking this opportunity to maybe insert himself into it and, you know, become the de facto Sugar Sean protector in the same way he did to flipping Conor McGregor and making excuses, and, you know, the whole Conor McGregor thing, if he stands like this, he's going to be able to beat fucking Mayweather, is really strange. Really, really strange and kind of lame, to be fair. But, you know, we shouldn't really expect anything different from the guy, innit? He's trying to ingratiate himself into it. But I've got a feeling this is kind of an attempt to make O'Malley to be the next Jake or Logan Paul, because clearly he needs another young protege who's got a lot of clout, who's kind of famous on there, who's got, you know, a personality who people like to see. He wants to be associated with him in that regard so that he can be good friends with him, and then obviously bring him in for content, have him on the show, use his name here and there to get some views and be kind of linked to his success in a way. It's a very slimy and horrible thing to see, but, you know, I get where the hustle's coming from, innit? I get where the hustle's coming from. Then to continue on, this is an interesting point, right? This is funny. Do you remember when Brendan was going after Dana White and the UFC because of what? UFC 279, right? That was the one with, what's his face? Hamzat Chimaev, and that whole controversy around the fight with flipping Nate Diaz and blah, 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 right? He made up this weird, conspiracy theory in his head that the UFC kind of did it all on purpose and made Hamzat miss weight so that they could change the fights because they realized the fights weren't selling well. Something weird. Whatever. He went to really down that hill, and he used it as an excuse to basically dog on the UFC, dog on Dana, and basically just try to, you know, stir up a bit of hassle because he was maybe bored or whatever. It's funny because off the back of that, it then turned into an issue where Joe Rogan came on his podcast and said quite matter-of-factly, oh, you know, Brendan basically talks a lot of rubbish and needs a handler. That's the kind of phrase he used, right? He needs a handler. And I think we know that that comment really hurt the guy because he went on his show after and tried to kind of play it off and, you know, and tried to do a Crystalia type, you know, rant about it and make it seem like he wasn't bothered, but clearly he was. And also the fact that Joe Rogan said he needs a handler was clearly proof, especially in public, was clearly proof that their relationship isn't as good as it was before. Right, Joe Rogan and Brendan were super close to the point where Brendan was one of the, you know, the guests that was on Joe Rogan the most. I think he's still got the record to this day, and clearly the relationship has changed over the years because of all the stuff that Brendan's got into. I don't need to kind of rehash over it again, but clearly something has changed their relationship, and you know that that comment hurt his feelings because he mentioned it again here. This is a conversation they're having on a recent episode of The Fighter and the Kid, and they're talking about the whole Kanye West stuff, right? And how he's getting cancelled, and how maybe he doesn't have any good real friends around him, and he needs someone to tell him, you know, that he's fucking up and stuff, and call him out on his bullshit. This is a conversation they're having, and in this conversation, Brendan kind of shoehorns and kind of forces his kind of, you know, situation with Rogan and the Dana White and UFC thing into it too, so you can clearly see that it's still something that kind of bugs him and still something that kind of annoys him and made him a little bit upset. But it's a very interesting way that he's kind of trying to paint it. Let's see.
He's fine, but it's ultimately, man, did you fuck up, dude? Man, did you mess up? What were you thinking? And this and
I know what he was thinking.
And I'm a
he was
fan.
thinking what a lot of people
and
think.
I'm a fan.
He was thinking what a lot of people in the world think. That's the problem.
A lot of uneducated, stupid people.
There's a lot of
and you have all the resources in the world. What you need is a better team around you. You have all the resources in the world. I see kind of, you know this from time to time. I see them all the time. The people around you should be ashamed of themselves that they allowed you to do
I don't think
any of
he's
this.
controllable, Bubba. I don't think you even know what the fuck he's going to do ever. I think the minute you tell him what to do, you get fired. I don't the problem with power.
The funny thing about that is that you could also say that about Brendan, right? The moment anyone steps up to him or basically talks back, they get fired. There's a not a long list, but there's a list of people who, you know, big up Malik, who basically stand up to him and say something maybe against what he says or maybe question what he says, and quickly he kind of, you know, puts them in their place and basically says, hey, you can do that anywhere but here.
Power like that is you surround yourself with people who are looking for a paycheck, and they just know they're dealing with crazy, and they just yes you to death.
So they get the money, but that's probably all the yes men. Like,
but that's what he does.
Well, I'd say.
Can you imagine?
I'd say. Listen, Joe Rogan's not as influence. He's not as big or as I don't know, as much influence as Kanye West. Kanye West is.
Oh, look at him talking out of turn about Rogan. Look at Brian Callen's face. He's like, be careful. I just got back into his good graces. What are you going to say about Daddy Rogan? Relax. Brendan's out here saying that Rogan isn't as influential as Kanye West. In previous years, he would have said Rogan's as big as Kanye West. Rogan's the biggest thing since sliced bread. Without Rogan, the world would not spin. Now he's questioning Rogan's influence. Oh, there's definitely trouble in paradise.
He's our Steve Jobs of rap, right? He's our Steve Jobs of entertainment. Rogan's definitely influential when it comes to comedy and podcasting, but even Rogan has more money than God. But if Rogan posts anything, you can call Rogan up, like, what are you doing? He'll be like, God, you're fucking right, dude. That was a mistake. Like, I've had times where, like, Rogan
We'd all do that for each other.
That's a decent example, right? To pull. Like, you know, Rogan's pretty influential, pretty high up person, pretty famous person, but you can still call him out on his bullshit. You can still kind of speak to him and he will listen to you in a way, right? Which is complete opposite of Kanye, they're basically going at. But then to shoehorn what he went through with Rogan and the Dana White situation into it is a real horrible name droppy thing that he does all the time. I don't think there's a single podcast that these guys do where they don't mention fucking Joe Rogan's name. And the funny thing about it is that, has he ever been on the Fighting the Kid? I don't think he has he? Has Joe Rogan ever been on a Fighting the Kid, like in the studio? Even when it was really good, when it was back in the day and stuff. Has he ever appeared on the show? He's had them on his show, but has he ever appeared on there? I don't think he has, you know. But they mention this guy every single day.
Well, like if I say you've done that,
and I've done it to you. Yeah. You've done it to me multiple times. Rogan did it to me, like when I was, and this got so out of hand with the conspiracy with Dana and stuff like that.
It got out of hand because you kept doubling, tripling down, my friend. That's why it got out of hand.
Yeah, you were joking around.
Joking around like this.
Oh, Brian Callen trying to help him out there. He wasn't joking. He was being serious.
Got a hand,
like you were trying to create.
But then when you put me against the wall, I'm like, hold on here, dude. I do 9 shows a fucking week. This is something for me to run with, and it gives me entertainment.
Fun, yeah.
No, now it was all a joke. It was all a prank. That's what it is. It was a prank, bro. It was a prank. No, it wasn't. You legitimately thought the UFC were colluding with Khamzat Chimaev to flipping get him to miss weight so that they can change the fight last minute because the tickets weren't selling. That's what you legitimately thought was happening. And then what? Khamzat Chimaev ends up running through flipping, what's my guy's name? Is it Kevin something, right? I forgot his name. He ends up running through him and making absolute light work of him, probably in the same way you would have done Nate Diaz anyway. But what is this?
I caveat it with, I don't believe all this, but if I were going to, that's what I do.
That's right.
And then Dana picks it up.
No, you didn't do that. You didn't do that at all. You said you definitely believed it.
And I do stuff, and even Rogan was like, "What are you doing, dude? Why would?" And you're gonna make a bit about it. I'm like, I need content. Like for me, it's fun.
Yeah.
I need content. He's trying to say. So I just make up shit. You hear what these guys are saying? So he just makes up shit and runs with it, even stuff that he doesn't believe, just so you can make up content. Is that what people are doing out here now? Horrendous. So not even a hot take that he actually can stand. This is the thing that's so, you know, pathetic about this whole thing. The whole conspiracy theory was pathetic, but stand on it. Stand on it. Why are you now backing away and trying to say it was all a prank? Just stand on it. You're allowed to have an opinion. Maybe someone called it out and said it was dumb, but stand on it.
I was like, I still don't dislike Dana. I have fun. He goes, don't do that one. All right, you're right. And then when he goes on the show and goes, oh, Brent needs a handler. And my friends and family call me like, Rogan's needing a handler. I called him. I texted him. I tried calling him, text him.
It really hurt his feelings, didn't it? That handler comment really hurt his feelings. But it's legit though. Why wouldn't it be legit? He does need a handler. Do you remember what he said about fucking Yves Edwards and those guys? When he basically insinuated the only reason why they had jobs on ESPN was because they were all black. And then if I remember correctly, he then apologized to Yves Edwards, via text or something. No, sorry. He apologized to Yves Edwards on Twitter. So I think Yves Edwards kind of hit him up public on Twitter and said, hey, what's all this smack you've been talking about me and my friends? And then he immediately started copying pleas. Oh, you know, I love black people. I listen to fucking Kendrick Lamar. He's my favorite rapper or something like that. And he was like, oh, chill. It's not about race. I'm just asking you what you're saying, but I appreciate your apology anyway. And then, as in classic Brendan Schaub fashion, he went on another show. I forgot what show it was, some other show, and they asked him about, oh, what happened to you and Yves Edwards? And he basically walked back whatever he said on the messages and basically was like, oh, Eves was being emotional, it wasn't a big deal, like basically tried to like minimize the whole thing. And Eve Edwards was on the show, and Eve Edwards was like, okay, enough. And he basically screen grabbed the entire text message thread he had with Brendan, where Brendan was basically copping pleas and sounding completely opposite to how he was talking online. And then of course, did he reply to that one? He didn't. He just kept it moving. So he's known to do this a lot. He's known to kind of do this, talk a big game or talk smack online and be this whole big badass, and then when it gets on text messages, copping please because he doesn't want the hassle or the blowback from the trolls, and then he gets his last word and then kind of runs away. Same thing he did here. It's like, come on, man, come on. Just because I think he fought this conspiracy theory because everyone hates Dana anyway, right? He's not the most likable person in the world. I think even he probably knows that. And you know, the UFC are known to, you know, be a little bit sneaky when it comes to the matchmaking and the ranking and stuff. It would make sense that if he said what he said any other time, that the MMA community, UFC community will kind of rally behind him. But because he's not likable himself, it turned into a little bit of an issue. Do you know what I mean? It kind of blew up in his face, basically.
Somehow I was like, hey, are you shitting me, dude? Handler? And then he wrote me this long thing like, you're right, shouldn't have said that, you know, blah, blah. And he gave me his reason. I went, I know, but you don't need, he goes, you're right, you shouldn't have said that. You're not helping my cause, dude. I'm already fighting a good fight here. You're not.
No, you're not. It really hurt him, innit? That Handler comment. And again, it was such a minor comment to make, and it really, really stung him.
Not helping me. He was like, you're right. I won't do it again. I was like, yeah, I would never do that to you, ever do. But that's what you.
But Rogan wouldn't make up a fucking conspiracy theory that they're trying to change fights last minute to sell tickets.
You do the same thing. What are you doing? If I go on podcasts and I'm being silly, I get maybe out of line. Like, I don't know.
We all do it. We all keep each other in check.
You call me, dude, I listen to that, whatever is Breakfast Club, whatever. Dude, I listen.
Anyway, that's Brendan basically getting really emotional about it and basically revealing that he had to have a heart to heart with Joe Rogan over text message because he couldn't get hold of him on the phone. Keep that in mind. Joe Rogan let the phone ring out. He didn't want to talk to Brendan on the phone. They had to go through text, and he basically said, I'm upset about you saying I need a handler. Like, fucking insane, isn't it? Absolutely insane, considering how much of a minor issue it was, and then kind of walking the whole thing back by saying that, yeah, I was just joking. It's just ridiculous, really, really, really ridiculous. This one is really amazing. Someone said in the beginning of the show, hey, Agostino, why are you so obsessed or, you know, such a big, you know, fan of detractor content around DSP? And I mentioned how I like watching people who are insanely unlikable not realize why they're unlikable, because I spent a lot of my time growing up being a bit of a people pleaser, wanting people to like me. And these guys don't care if people like them or not. They just do what they do, and they basically don't make any effort to change the bits about them that people don't like. Zero. And actually, they're actually surprised and don't understand why people don't like them. It doesn't make sense. So they just kind of dismiss them by calling them trolls or detractors and stuff. So I love that. The other part about I love when it comes to DSP and Brendan, who I think are very similar, because I think you describe Brendan as a low for definitely, especially the amount of content he's been able to generate, and there's a whole flipping subculture around him and shit. You know, me included with my live streams. But the other thing I like about the guy is the delusion and the lack of self-awareness. I flipping love it, because again, I don't have that, and I wish I did, because I honestly do think, as I said on previous shows, that it's one of the secret ingredients of becoming successful on social media or as a content creator overall, is to have a sense of delusion, because you have to be deluded enough to think that people actually want to hear and listen to you do a vlog or do a podcast or whatever it may be. Considering the amount of options that exist out there, you have to be delusional to think that you are worthy enough of people's attention to get subs, to get donations, to get likes, to get fucking social media follows and all that malarkey and sponsorships and advertising. Because there's plenty of people out there doing content, many people that are more funny than you, more charming than you, more charismatic, hotter, whatever it may be. They exist. But for you to be the one doing it like I am every single day, or whatever you need to do it, you have to be delusional. And Brendan has it in heaps. So this is Brendan talking about, you know, Joe Rogan leaving LA and moving to Texas, and how he was going to move, but then he saw a gap in the market and he wanted to take it. And this is the kind of, you know, delusion that runs through his head, which he actually believes, which is absolutely ridiculous and quite inspiring, to be honest, because I think we all need some equal servings of delusion in our lives to make us successful also.
Then Rogan moved to Austin. So it shook up the whole podcast comedy scene in LA. I was looking at property in Austin, and I was like, man, it just doesn't feel like the move for me. Like, you gotta remember, Joe's been in LA 30 years before he left. Tom Segura's been in LA 30 years. Like, they got their start here, made their name here, and then dipped out. I got a lot of work to do. So I was like, man, there's kind of a void here in LA. I'm gonna stay here, man. So I'm staying here. I think it's the right choice. You know, I'm getting more spots than ever around town, and, you know, I'm just doing my...
I find it hilarious how he legitimately thinks there's any overlap, or this is my point of delusion. I think it's delusional to think there's any overlap between Tom Segura fans, Joe Rogan fans, and Brendan Shaw fans, except for the fact that they maybe used to be on the same podcast together, or they used to run around in the same group together. I find it utterly delusional that he legitimately thinks Tom Segura fans will want to watch him do stand-up, or Joe Rogan fans want to watch him do stand-up. It doesn't make any sense. There's no correlation, so there's no overlap in their fan base at all. The only correlation they have is obviously the podcast and Joe and stuff and the Comedy Store, but there's nothing that I think that those fans of Tom or Joe could find funny in his content. I don't think so personally, but maybe I'm in the wrong.
My thing, but going back to the Fight Companion, is my favorite show to do. I called Joe. I'm like, man, you know the number one thing I miss, because everyone's on their own now. When Joe left, it was like Game of Thrones. It was like he was the head dude. You know, for...
You know what's funny? It was Game of Thrones, and he benefited a lot from it. He used to go to the Comedy Store and perform there, but now it's ever since Rogan's left, from what I've been hearing, people who live there and people who know the scene, he hasn't stepped back foot in there again. Or maybe he's done a couple bringer shows or guest shows here and there, but the frequency of him being in there before has definitely slowed down to the point where it just doesn't, it's not really a thing you even hear him mention. He doesn't even talk about the Comedy Store as much as he did before. Now it's all Laugh Factory, but before it was all about the Comedy Store. He was enamored of it. It felt like he was wanting to angle to get past there, which is absolutely insane. But you don't ever hear him mention the Comedy Store ever again, and that is because Rogan left. Rogan, it was a big reason why he was able to perform so often there, because he'd bring him on his shows.
Better or worse, like, he made it like a positive environment. He upped everybody, built everybody up. There wasn't like this bickering going on, because there was a king. Straight up, there was a king.
Clear leadership.
And he was the leadership, and he's doing it at a high level, and that's how you guys should act. He leaves, and it's like Game of Thrones. The king died.
Your reign is over.
And now it's like, wow, everyone's out for themselves. And you're like, holy shit, what happened to the crew? All my crew moved. Theo moved.
Yeah, but he's also including the fact that he tried to fuck one of his crew members' girlfriend behind his back, tried to get another girl to come to his truck and suck his dick, and that may be what's led to him being ostracized, not the fact that Rogan left. That's what he's not really mentioning.
Moved, Segura moved, Joey Diaz moved, everyone just Tim Dillon, everyone dipped out.
But yeah, I find it incredible, man. That delusion is absolutely incredible, to think that Tom Segura fans or Joe Rogan fans would want to come and watch him do comedy. It just doesn't make any sense. Just watch 5 minutes, especially of Tom Segura's content, or his comedy at least, his delivery, the jokes that they have on their fucking podcast, Your Mum's House, and you'd see there's no correlation between them. If anything, his fans will be calling Brendan a cool guy. Do you know what I mean? He's not their kind of person in terms of comedy-wise. It doesn't make any sense in that regard, but I think we all need that flipping, we all need that sense of delusion to keep ourselves going. But I thought this was pretty brutal. Did you guys see this? This is pretty brutal. The flipping host of this show asked Brendan a really insane question, especially considering that he was interviewing him for his show. So this guy did as much research on Brendan as Brendan does on the fucking fight cards when he's doing his show.
Are you still doing stand-up comedy? Like, are you...
How dare you? Yeah, I just released my special. That's my main money maker. Yeah. How dare you?
Well, I just want to...
Oh my goodness!
Oh shit!
Oh my goodness!
Oh.
Let's go back again.
Are you still doing stand-up comedy? Like, are you...
How dare you? Yeah, I just released my special. That's my main money maker. Yeah, how dare you?
Well, I just want...
Jesus Christ, are you still doing comedy? Absolutely hilarious, man. Imagine someone asking you that's coming to interview you. Are you still doing stand up? Is that still a thing? Do you still do that stand up stuff? Jesus Christ, man. But yeah. How dare you? Exactly, how dare you? Not how dare you, how dare you? Narrative. I love the narrative thing, and the narrative thing is absolutely incredible. And what's what I talk about here? I think, oh yeah, this is okay. Yeah, this is it, and then we're gonna have to bounce. But this is the one we're going to talk about to end on. So, as I mentioned previously on this show beforehand, I was legitimately a fan of the show. A fan of the show. I used to love The Fright and the Kid. I never used to miss an episode. It used to be something I used to do on a weekly basis. And it was really good because in the beginning, I think that most shows, and it happens all the time with podcasts, when people are scrappy and trying to make it and trying to figure stuff out, it's quite cool because you already have this parasocial relationship with them anyway, because you listen to these people every single week. They're inside your flipping head and you feel like you know them because they share personal details about their lives and stuff, blah 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 blah. So when they're trying to make it in whatever industry they're trying to make it in, you kind of feel like that's one of your friends. You kind of feel like you really want to root for them so they can achieve it, because you feel like if they make it, it kind of makes you feel kind of good because you are maybe backing and supporting them in the beginning, sort of thing. It's strange, isn't it? It's very losery. It's clearly redacted. You probably should get real friends, myself included. But I was that kind of person, and I really enjoyed what they're doing, especially when I used to watch from the Fox days and stuff, right? Evan the Beard days, MJ days, right? Used to love it. And then I don't know, something changed. Don't know what it was. I can't pinpoint the time. Some people say it was when Brendan started to dye his hair. It was when he was on E. It was when maybe he started to book loads of shows and go on tour more than Bryan Callen was in terms of doing stand-up comedy, and there's a clear disparity in terms of the money they were making. I'm not too sure. I really don't know when the moment was when it turned, but it definitely turned. But this interaction between Brendan and Bryan Callen on The Fright and the Kid, one of the earlier episodes they had back when they were on I think this might be in Fox days, I'm pretty sure, shows you how different the relationship is. So I'm going to play both clips back to back. I'm going to play this one and a clip from the recent show or show that's filmed recently, and you'll see how different their relationship is in general. So this is a clip from the old show, and look at the difference.
Hey, bro.
The Slash.
Bro.
The rock star Slash.
I want you to take it back right now.
No, Slash would beat the fuck out of you.
Listen, man.
You think you can beat up Slash?
Listen to me. You don't insult me like that on my podcast. Now, take it back.
Slash.
Look at even how they're looking at each other, right? There's actual love and admiration in their eyes. And guess what they're also trying to do? They're trying to have a somewhat funny show. They're trying to provide entertainment. They're trying to make their their listeners laugh. They're also cognitive and aware that some people watch the show without watching the video. So they're trying to make it funny by speaking into the microphone, by making it into a bit, by maybe acting some of the stuff out. This is clearly a different show than what we get today.
We're gonna have a problem.
Would play the guitar in your fucking yellow teeth.
Say, Brian, I'm sorry.
He go.
If you don't take it back.
Ow!
If you don't fucking take it back, we will fucking. I will fucking rape. I will choke your fucking stupid.
Uh-oh, he said that word again. So not the best thing to end on, but you get what I mean in terms of there's clearly a bit of love there, clearly a bit of banter, admiration, but they clearly enjoy being in each other's company, right? Now, compare that little clip that you saw to this clip on a recent episode of the show where they awkwardly have a private conversation on air about why Bryan can't do a Monday show because he's traveling somewhere and it's a secret, and it's just a weird conversation to have, and you can clearly see they don't spend any time around each other outside of the show. They do the show, they record it, they go their separate ways, but whatever friendship, whatever kinship they had prior where they were legitimately brother in arms is completely eroded. This is how they talk now.
We did it again. Now I'm off to London.
Now, tell the audience why you're leaving.
Going to London.
I'm
going to London to...
Our boy's in a movie.
I'm in a movie.
Oh, nice.
That's not the London thing, but
What's the London thing? Just vacation?
No, I'm doing a corporate gig.
Why do I feel like you're lying right now?
I'm not lying.
No, you're 100%. That's fine. I don't care. I don't care, but don't lie.
I'm
You're not
lying.
doing corporate gig.
No,
Who in London was like, hey, will you fly from LA to London to a corporate gig?
Yeah, but I'll
it's
tell
a
you-
lie,
I'll tell
though,
you-
right?
I'll tell
And
you
you're making
about
that
it.
up.
No,
and
no,
that's
I'll tell you about
fine.
it off camera.
Because you told me it was a movie before,
No,
and now
the
it's
movie I'm
corporate
doing
gig.
right after I get back. Doing a movie.
And you're missing pod then?
Just a podcast on Monday. The London thing is, you'll see what I tell you. It's not a big deal, but I have to go there. It's a money gig.
Yeah. Tell me something else.
Money
before.
gig.
Okay, well.
By the way, obviously they're not friends anymore. Clearly you can see it from that clip. But look at this. Am I the only person that's noticing that Bryan Callen is wearing a wedding ring now? He never wore one before when he was married to the other lady, was he? Or am I bugging out? He's playing with it a lot. Like, obviously it's something that he doesn't wear often. I feel like it's like when somebody gets a gold tooth, they're always smiling and showing you their teeth. He's kind of playing around with his ring a lot more than maybe he would if he was used to wearing a ring. He's holding his hand up against his face and shit. But there's clearly something going on there, isn't it? Rah. What would you be pissed off if you were the ex-wife that he's kind of wanting to be obvious and out there that he's married, and before that he wasn't? He was doing that whole Hollywood thing that they do where they all pretend like they're single so that it can increase their likability and ability to maybe get jobs and shit and whatever nonsense they're telling themselves. But regardless, going back to this clip, clearly these guys don't talk outside of the podcast. They have this weird conversation in front of a camera that they probably shouldn't be having, or maybe it should be something that should be cut out of the show because it's not, fun, it's not funny, and it's a bit weird and clunky and personal, and maybe, again, like I said, just illustrates that they're clearly not friends. But you can see that there's definitely been a change in the relationship. Now, it could be because somebody's been accused of the R word. It could be because, the other drama that's happened in general. But you can clearly see that the relationship has deteriorated to this kind of point where they don't know where each other's going to be. They don't know who's going to record, why some person's not able to record. They find stuff out last minute. It's just very, very, very strange. I'm not really too sure what the deal is regarding it, but, it is what it is, isn't it? Anyway, that has been, for me, the Random Show, episode number 60. I have to bounce. It is now 3 a.m. here in the London Down, so I need to kind of get to, to bed and stuff and prepare for gym and all that stuff tomorrow. But thank you so much for everybody for tuning in. I do appreciate you. If it's your first time checking out the show, please make sure that you smash the like, because I don't get as many likes as I probably should considering what the show is and what I'm doing and stuff. So if you do enjoy what you see, please smash that like button and help a guy out. It'll be greatly appreciated. And apart from that, what else I have to tell you? That's about it, really, isn't it? I don't think else I have to tell you. There'll be a DJ stream happening later today, hopefully, or maybe tomorrow. I'm not too sure what date it's on, so check that out as well if you want to hear me and that. Do a bit of DJing stuff, that'd be nice. You can check that out if you want to. And new podcast is also be coming out later today also, so if you can see that, that'll be premiering later, so definitely check that out. I'll be in the chat responding and replying to messages as per usual. But thanks again for everyone for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to have your company. Big up Uche, big up Monkey Monty, big up Robert Minas, big up Ray Chan Joint, Andrew W, King Yeti, big up YM3, big up Josie Masters, big up Frank Lopez, big up Adamus Grove, big up Kevin, big up Jared Mellerich, big up Alex, big up everybody in this chat, big up Hasib Batu, Abuta, I think, big up Said Kalu, big up Teju, everybody that's in here, big up Cloud K20, all of you, big up every single one of you that tune in. I do appreciate you all the time. The fact that you take your time out of your day to come and listen to my nonsense, I don't take it for granted. And I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Take care, be safe,